I never believed in love at first sight. Love, in my experience, was a transaction. A carefully balanced equation where desire met opportunity, where attraction collided with ambition. In my 32 years, I'd learned that people didn't fall for Kang Seo-jun. They fell for what Kang Seo-jun could give them. The penthouse stretched before me, all glass and steel and cold perfection. 43 floors above Seoul, where the city lights glittered like promises that meant nothing. I stood at the window, whiskey in hand, watching the world I'd conquered and feeling nothing but the familiar hollow ache. My reflection stared back, sharp jawline, dark eyes that made subordinates nervous, the kind of face that photographers loved and rivals feared. An alpha in every sense that mattered in our world. Pheromones that could fill a room, presence that could silence a boardroom, wealth that could buy almost anything. Almost. Seo-jun SSI? The voice was soft, respectful. I turned to find Lee Hanol standing in the doorway, holding a tray with my evening tea. He wore simple clothes, cream sweater, dark slacks, that somehow made him look more elegant than any designer outfit I'd ever bought for Min-jae. "Come in," I said, my voice rougher than intended. Hanol entered with that quiet grace he always carried, setting the tray on the side table. The scent of chamomile filled the air, mixing with something else, his natural omega sweetness, subtle like spring rain. After a year of living in my home, I'd grown dangerously familiar with it. "You stayed late at the office again?" he observed, not quite meeting my eyes. "Respectful distance always." "Merger negotiations," I replied, watching him pour the tea with steady hands. "The Singapore branch is being difficult. They'll come around. They always do when you're involved." He said it simply, like stating a fact rather than flattery. That was the thing about Hanol. He never seemed impressed by my power, never dazzled by my status. He acknowledged it the way one might acknowledge the weather, present, observable, but not particularly extraordinary. It was maddening. It was refreshing. It was dangerous. "Will Min-jae Sasai be joining you for dinner?" Hanol asked, arranging small plates of fruit beside the tea. My jaw tightened at the mention of my boyfriend. "He's at a gallery opening. Some new artist he's excited about." "Ah." Hanol's expression remained neutral, but I caught something flickering in those bright eyes. Concern? Judgment? I couldn't read him the way I could read everyone else, and that frustrated me more than I wanted to admit. He moved to leave and I found myself speaking before I could stop. "Hanol." He paused, turning back with that patient attentiveness that never felt servile. "Yes, Seo-jun SSI? Do you?" I hesitated, the question foreign on my tongue. "Do you think people can love someone for who they are rather than what they have?" For the first time since he'd entered, Hanol truly looked at me. His gaze was gentle but direct, and I felt strangely exposed under it. "I believe some people can," he said quietly. "But I also believe it becomes harder the more someone has. The wealth creates noise. Makes it difficult to hear what's real underneath. And if someone wanted to hear what's real?" A small smile touched his lips. "Then they'd have to be willing to risk finding silence instead of praise. Not everyone is brave enough for that." He bowed slightly and left, leaving me alone with my tea and a thought that wouldn't quiet. 3 days later I made my decision. Min-jae arrived at the penthouse just after noon, all bright smiles and designer confidence. At 26 he was beautiful in that carefully maintained way, skin treatments, gym routines, the right angles for every photograph. A beta with enough charm to navigate alpha circles without threatening them. "You said you had something for me?" he asked, kissing my cheek with practiced affection. I pulled out the black card, the one with no limit, no questions, no restrictions. Even among my wealth, this card was legendary. I'd used it perhaps twice in 10 years. "I want you to have this for 24 hours, I said, watching his reaction carefully. "Use it however you want. Buy anything. Go anywhere. Consider it yours until this time tomorrow." Min-jae's eyes widened, actual emotion breaking through his usual composure. "Seo-jun, are you serious?" "This is completely serious." I kept my voice neutral, alpha calm. "No restrictions. No explanations needed. Just be yourself." He threw his arms around my neck, and I caught the scent of his cologne. Expensive, chosen to complement rather than clash with my pheromones. Everything about Min-jae was chosen, curated, perfect. "You're incredible," he breathed against my ear. "I love you so much." The words should have warmed me. Instead they felt like ice. After he left, practically vibrating with excitement, I went to find Hanol. He was in the kitchen, preparing ingredients for dinner with that focused concentration he brought to everything. "Hanol." He looked up, hands stilling on the vegetables he'd been chopping. "Seo-jun SSI? Is something wrong?" I held out an identical black card. His eyes widened slightly, the most surprise I'd ever seen from him. "The same offer," I said. 24 hours. Use it however you want. No questions, no judgments. Just, your choice. Hanul stared at the card like it might bite him. I don't understand. You don't need to. I placed it on the counter between us. Just take it. Please. His hand trembled slightly as he reached for it, fingers not quite touching the metal. This is too much. I'm just... Don't, I interrupted, sharper than intended. Don't diminish yourself. Just, take it. See what you do with it. Our eyes met and for a moment the kitchen felt too small, too warm. His scent shifted slightly, nervous, uncertain, but not afraid. Never afraid of me. Okay, he whispered finally, taking the card with both hands like it was made of glass. Thank you for trusting me with this. Trust. The word settled in my chest, heavy and significant. I nodded and left him there, returning to my study where I could pretend to work while my mind churned with questions I'd been avoiding for months. What did I want Hanul to do with that card? What did I want him to be? And why did the answer matter so much more than it should? The night felt endless. I sat in my study, documents spread before me that I couldn't focus on. Numbers blurred. Contract clauses meant nothing. My mind kept wandering to two people. One I called my boyfriend, another I called my employee, both carrying pieces of my wealth into the world. What would they bring back? My alpha instincts churned restlessly. In the Omegaverse, alphas were meant to be certain, dominant, clear in their desires. But tonight I felt like a fraud, using money to test hearts because I didn't trust my own judgment anymore. The penthouse was too quiet. Usually, Hanul's presence filled the space with subtle life. The sound of him moving through rooms, the scent of whatever he was cooking, the gentle way he existed without demanding attention. Tonight that absence felt profound. My phone buzzed. Minjae. You won't believe the day I'm having. Just bought the most amazing pieces. Wait until you see. Love you. Two hearts. Before we dive into this heartwarming, emotional, slow burn romance Omegaverse story, note, this is an original work of Milliflex channel. If seen in another channel that is not Milliflex, please report that channel for copyright and impersonation. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a comment. Now let's dive in. I stared at the message, waiting to feel something. Happiness that he was happy? Pride in being able to provide? Even simple pleasure at his excitement? Nothing came. I set the phone down and poured another whiskey, watching Soul's lights blur through the expensive glass. Who was I becoming? A man who tested love with credit cards? An alpha so jaded that genuine emotion seemed impossible? My father had been like this, cold, calculating, trusting no one. He died alone in a hospital bed, surrounded by business partners who'd immediately started dividing his empire. I'd sworn I wouldn't become him. Yet here I sat in a penthouse he'd built, running a company he'd founded, using his methods to measure worth. The whiskey burned going down. Good. At least I could still feel something. Morning came with Soul's golden light and a headache from too little sleep, too much whiskey, and too many thoughts chasing circles. I showered, dressed, and forced myself through my morning routine with mechanical precision. Charcoal suit, silver watch, the armor of wealth and power that I wore as easily as breathing. By the time I emerged, Hanul was already in the kitchen. The scent of coffee and something baked, cinnamon maybe, filled the air. Good morning, Siagenesisai, he said quietly, pouring coffee with steady hands. I studied him carefully. He wore the same clothes as yesterday, that cream sweater, those dark slacks. No shopping bags in sight. No glow of retail satisfaction. Did you sleep? I asked. Some. He set the coffee before me and I noticed faint circles under his eyes. You? Some, I echoed. We stood in careful silence, the kind that had become familiar over the past year. Not uncomfortable exactly, but weighted with things neither of us said. The card, I finally said. Did you use it? Hanul's hand stilled on the coffee pot. I thought about it. A lot actually. And? He turned to face me fully and I saw something vulnerable in his expression. Honesty without armor. I wanted to go to the orphanage where I grew up. Buy things for the children. Ice cream for summer, warm clothes for winter, books and toys and all the things we never had. My chest tightened. Why didn't you? Because it's your money, not mine. He said it simply, without resentment. You gave me permission, yes. But permission and right felt like different things. I wanted to ask you first. To explain why it mattered. To make sure you understood that I wouldn't waste. Stop. The word came out rougher than intended, raw with emotion I couldn't name. You thought using my money to help children would be wasteful? No. He looked startled by my tone. I thought maybe you'd want to know. Want to be part of it if you chose. Not just, have me spend your wealth without understanding. I set down my coffee, hands not quite steady. I told you no restrictions. No explanations needed. I know. Hanul's voice was soft but firm. But respect matters more to me than permission. You've given me so much already, a home, work, safety. I couldn't just take more without honoring what that means. Something cracked in my chest. Something I'd built carefully over years, protection against exactly this kind of raw sincerity. The card is still yours, I heard myself say. Go. Buy everything those children need. Take your time. And Hanul? I waited until he met my eyes. Thank you for asking. But you never needed to. He smiled then, really smiled, bright and genuine and completely without calculation. The expression transformed his face, made him almost impossibly beautiful. Would you? He hesitated. Would you want to come with me? To see the children? They'd love to meet someone like you. Someone like me. An alpha. A chairman. Someone usually feared rather than loved. Yes, I said quietly. I'd like that very much. 2 hours later Min-jae arrived. I heard him before I saw him. The excited chatter, the rustle of expensive bags, the sound of my boyfriend returning from his 24 hours of freedom. He burst into the living room like a storm of designer labels, arms laden with shopping bags from every luxury brand Seoul offered. Seo-jun. Oh my god, you should have seen it. I went to the Hermes flagship and they had this bag. Wait, I'll show you. He was practically vibrating with excitement, pulling out purchases with the enthusiasm of a child on Christmas morning. I watched him cataloging each item. The Rolex, limited edition sneakers. A leather jacket that probably cost more than most people's monthly salary. Jewelry, clothes, accessories I couldn't even identify. And this, Min-jae pulled out a sleek box. This is for you. To thank you for yesterday. You're so generous, Seo-jun. So amazing. I'm the luckiest person alive. He kissed me then and I tasted expensive champagne on his lips. Some boutique had probably offered it while he shopped, and Min-jae had never been one to refuse luxury. Did you enjoy yourself? I asked, voice carefully neutral. Enjoy? Baby, it was incredible. Everyone was so attentive when they saw the card. I felt like royalty. Like I mattered. He laughed, bright and unburdened. Is this how you feel all the time? No wonder you're so confident. I felt like I was watching him from very far away. Is that what makes me confident? The card. Well, yeah. The money, the power, all of it. It's intoxicating. He squeezed my hand. I love that about you. You're not like other alphas who are all aggression and dominance. You're refined. Sophisticated. Perfect. Perfect. The word echoed hollowly. I'm glad you had fun, I said, extracting my hand gently. But Min-jae, I need to talk to you about something. His smile faltered slightly. That sounds serious. It is. I gestured to the couch and we sat, expensive shopping bags creating a barrier between us. I care about you. You're charming, intelligent, enjoyable to be around. But his beta instincts were reading my tone, picking up what I hadn't said. But I don't think we're right for each other. Not in the way that matters. Silence. Then, is this about the shopping? Did I spend too much? Because I can return. No. I shook my head. This isn't about the money. It's about what the money represents. What we represent. Min-jae's expression shifted through confusion, hurt, and finally something sharper. There's someone else. It wasn't a question. There might be, I admitted. But that's not why I'm doing this. I'm doing this because you deserve someone who loves you for who you are, not what you provide access to. And I deserve. What? Someone better than me? The words were bitter. Someone different, I said gently. Someone who sees me without the wealth blinding them first. He stood abruptly, gathering his bags with shaking hands. You're going to regret this. You think you'll find someone who doesn't care about your money? In our world? You're delusional, Seo-jun. The money is who you are. After he left, the penthouse felt emptier than usual. I stood at the window watching the city below, wondering if Min-jae was right. Maybe the wealth had become so intertwined with my identity that separating them was impossible. Seo-jun SSI? Hanul's voice, soft behind me. I hadn't heard him approach. He's gone, I said without turning. I heard. I'm sorry. Are you? I glanced back at him. You never seemed to like him much. Hanul considered this carefully. I didn't know him well enough to like or dislike. But I knew he made you feel alone even when you were together. That seems sad. Such simple observation. Such devastating accuracy. The orphanage, I said, changing the subject because I couldn't handle his gentle honesty right then. Are you still willing to take me? His face brightened. Really? You still want to go? I really do. Then yes. I'd love that. He paused. Seo-jun SSI? For what it's worth, I don't think money is who you are. I think it's just something you have. Like your height or your alpha pheromones. Part of you but not the whole. I turned fully to face him. Then who am I? Hanol smiled softly. I don't know yet. But I'd like to find out if you'd let me. In that moment, standing in my expensive penthouse with my ex-boyfriend's words still echoing and this Omega's gentle sincerity washing over me, I realized something terrifying. I wanted that too. I wanted it more than I'd wanted anything in years. The orphanage sat in a quieter part of Seoul, where the city's relentless ambition gave way to something more human. The building was old but well-maintained, with colorful murals on the walls, children's handprints in rainbow patterns, flowers, butterflies. I pulled my car into the parking lot, and Hanol's entire demeanor changed. The careful composure he maintained at the penthouse melted into something bright and eager. I lived here from age 6 to 18, he explained as we walked toward the entrance. The director, Mrs. Kim, she's everything. The closest thing to a mother I've ever known. An Omega who'd grown up without family. Without pack. The reality of what that meant in our hierarchy-obsessed world settled heavy in my chest. The door burst open before we could knock, and a small tornado of children erupted outward. Hanol Hyung. You came. Did you bring anything? They swarmed him with the unconscious affection of those who'd never learned to fear Omegas or calculate worth. Hanol laughed, a sound I'd never heard from him, completely unguarded, and dropped to his knees to embrace them. Yes, I brought something, he said, pulling back to look at them. But first, I want you to meet someone very important. This is Kang Seojin SSI. He's the one who made today possible. Small faces turned toward me with varying degrees of curiosity and wariness. I suddenly felt absurdly out of place in my expensive suit, this alpha among children who'd learned early that hierarchies meant little in the face of survival. Hello, I said, unsure of the protocol for addressing children. A little girl, maybe 6 years old, stepped forward. Are you Hanol Hyung's boyfriend? The question hung in the air. Hanol flushed pink and I felt my own composure crack slightly. I'm his employer, I managed. Oh. She looked disappointed. That's boring. Hanol Hyung deserves a boyfriend who's exciting. Mina. Hanol's voice carried gentle mortification. That's not, you can't just. But I found myself laughing. Actually laughing, the sound rusty from disuse. You're absolutely right. He does deserve someone exciting. An older woman appeared in the doorway, silver hair pulled back, apron dusted with what looked like flour. Her eyes went wide when she saw Hanol. My boy, she said warmly, opening her arms. Hanol stood and embraced her, and I saw his shoulders shake slightly. When he pulled back, his eyes were bright with unshed tears. Mrs. Kim, this is Kang Seojun. He's helping me do something I've always wanted to do. Mrs. Kim turned to me, and I felt assessed in a way that had nothing to do with my alpha status or my wealth. She was measuring something deeper. Thank you for being kind to our Hanol, she said simply. He has such a gentle heart. Not everyone sees that. I'm beginning to, I replied quietly. The next 3 hours were unlike anything I'd experienced. We brought the children to a shopping district, and Hanol moved through stores with focused purpose. Not luxury boutiques. Simple places where clothes were durable and toys were imaginative rather than expensive. The younger ones need winter coats, he explained, running his hand over a rack of puffy jackets. And books. Mrs. Kim reads to them every night, but their library is small. I watched him select items with careful attention, occasionally asking the children what they liked, what they needed. He knew their sizes, their preferences, their dreams. How do you remember all this? I asked as he picked out a science kit for a boy interested in astronomy. I visit every month, Hanol said simply. They matter to me. We filled cart after cart. Clothes, books, art supplies, sports equipment, a new coffee maker for Mrs. Kim's office. Hanol kept checking the prices, mental calculations running behind his eyes. Don't, I said quietly, placing a hand on his shoulder. The touch sent warmth through my palm, that familiar electric current. Get everything they need. Don't think about the cost. But, Hanol. I waited until he looked at me. This is your money for the next few hours. Remember? Use it how you want. I want to use it well. You are. At a toy store, I found myself drawn to a display of stuffed animals. A small wolf caught my eye, soft gray fur, bright amber eyes. Almost like the alpha wolves from old stories. For Mina, I said, showing Hanol. She said I was boring. Maybe this will help. His smile was radiant. She'll love it. When we returned to the orphanage, arms laden with bags, the children's excitement was overwhelming. They tore into packages with gleeful abandon, and their joy was so pure, so uncomplicated, that I felt something in my chest unknot. Mrs. Kim pulled me aside while Hanol was buried under a pile of giggling children. He talks about you sometimes, she said quietly. When he visits. I looked at her sharply. What does he say? That you work too hard. That you seem lonely even though you're surrounded by people. That you're kind in ways you don't let others see. She studied my face. Are you kind to him? I try to be. Try harder. Her voice was gentle but firm. That boy has spent his whole life believing he wasn't worth choosing. Everyone who's supposed to love an Omega, parents, pack partners, they all left or never came. He learned to be grateful for scraps. Don't give him scraps, Mr. Kong. The words hit like a physical blow. I would never. Not intentionally, perhaps. But alphas like you, wealthy and powerful, you don't always see how your attention can feel like charity. Make sure he knows he's chosen. Not rescued. Chosen. Before I could respond, Mina ran up and threw her arms around my legs. Thank you for the wolf, she exclaimed, hugging the stuffed animal to her chest. I'm going to name him Seo-jun like you. I'm honored, I said, surprised by how much I meant it. She looked up at me with serious eyes. Will you come back? Hanol Hyung is always happier after he visits. But I think you made him extra happy today. I'll come back, I promised. If you'll have me. Okay. But next time you should kiss Hanol Hyung. That's what people do when they like each other. Mina. Hanol appeared, face burning. Stop trying to matchmake. She giggled and ran off, leaving us standing awkwardly together. I'm so sorry, Hanol said, not meeting my eyes. The children, they don't understand. Hanol. He finally looked up and I saw uncertainty there. Vulnerability. Hope carefully guarded. They understand more than you think, I said quietly. And they're not wrong. The air between us shifted, charged with possibility neither of us had acknowledged before. We should go, Hanol whispered. It's getting late. I nodded, but as we said our goodbyes and walked to the car, I knew something had changed. The careful distance we'd maintained was crumbling, and I wasn't sure I wanted to rebuild it. On the drive back, Hanol was quiet, staring out the window at Seoul's lights. Thank you, he said finally. For today. For letting me share this part of my life with you. Thank you for trusting me with it. Seo-jun SSI? His voice was soft, hesitant. Just Seo-jun, I said. You can call me just Seo-jun. A smile flickered across his face. Seo-jun then. Can I ask you something? Anything. Why did you give me the card? Really? I could have lied. Could have said something about generosity or curiosity. But after today, after seeing him with those children, after feeling what I felt when he smiled, I couldn't. Because I needed to know, I said honestly. If someone could see me, really see me, without the wealth clouding everything. And do you know now? I pulled the car to a stop in front of the penthouse, turning to face him fully. I'm starting to. Our eyes met and the moment stretched. I wanted to reach for him, to pull him close, to let my alpha instincts finally claim what they'd been circling for months. But I remembered Mrs. Kim's words. Chosen, not rescued. Good night, Hanol, I said instead. Good night, Seo-jun. He left the car and I watched him walk into the building, something in me aching with want and uncertainty and a strange, terrifying hope. 3 weeks passed. 3 weeks of careful navigation, of boundaries acknowledged and almost crossed, of stolen glances and conversations that went deeper than employer and employee should go. I found excuses to be home more. Late night work could be done from the study instead of the office. Dinner meetings could be rescheduled. The penthouse, which I'd always treated as just another property, became somewhere I wanted to be. Because Hanol was there. We fell into a rhythm. Breakfast together before I left for meetings, dinner when I returned, late evenings where we'd sit in the living room talking about everything and nothing. He told me about growing up in the orphanage, about learning to cook from Mrs. Kim, about the books he loved and the places he'd never been. I told him about my father's expectations, about inheriting a company I'd never wanted but learned to run, about the loneliness of being surrounded by people who only saw wealth. Do you ever regret it? He asked one night, curled into the corner of the couch with tea warming his hands. The power, the responsibility? I considered the question seriously. Sometimes. But regret feels like a luxury. I was born into this. Walking away would mean, what? Letting everything my grandfather built crumble? Abandoning thousands of employees? Or it might mean choosing yourself for once. The observation was gentle but pointed, and it settled uncomfortably in my chest. What about you? I deflected. Do you regret not pursuing more? You're intelligent, capable. You could have done anything. Hanol smiled softly. I'm doing what I chose. Taking care of a home, having stability, saving money to help the orphanage. Those aren't small things. They're not, I agreed. But you deserve more than scraps of someone else's life. He looked at me then, something unreadable in his eyes. Is that what you think you're giving me? Scraps. I don't know what I'm giving you, I admitted. But I know I want it to be more. The confession hung in the air between us. Hanol's scent shifted, Sweeter, richer, the Omega biology responding to my alpha admission even as he fought to control it. Seo-jun, he whispered. What are we doing? I don't know, I said honestly. But I don't want to stop. The shift happened on a Friday night. I'd been at the office late, dealing with a crisis in the Tokyo branch. By the time I returned home it was past midnight and I was exhausted, physically, mentally, emotionally drained. The penthouse was dark except for a soft light from the kitchen. Hanul was still awake, wearing soft pajamas, hair slightly mussed from sleep. He looked younger like this, vulnerable in a way he never allowed during the day. You're home, he said, relief evident in his voice. I was worried. Sorry? I should have texted. It's okay. I made food. In case you were hungry. He gestured to covered dishes on the counter. Nothing fancy. Just comfort food. I approached slowly, drawn by something beyond hunger. You didn't have to wait up. I wanted to. 3 words. So simple. So devastating. I reached for the food and our fingers brushed. That electric current again, stronger now, insistent. Hanul's breath caught, and I saw his pupils dilate, his Omega instincts responding to my alpha presence. Hanul, I said, voice rougher than intended. Tell me to stop. Stop what? This. Whatever this is becoming. Because if you don't stop me now, I couldn't finish the sentence. Couldn't articulate the want that was overwhelming my carefully maintained control. He stepped closer instead of away. What if I don't want you to stop? The world narrowed to just us. Just this moment. Just the truth we'd been circling for months. I'm your employer, I said even as my hands ached to reach for him. The power dynamic is only a problem if one of us is being coerced. His voice was steady despite the flush on his cheeks. I'm choosing this. Choosing you. If you'll have me. My control shattered. I closed the distance between us, cupping his face with trembling hands. Are you sure? I've never been more sure of anything. I kissed him then, softly at first, testing, asking permission with every movement. He melted into me, hands fisting in my shirt, a small sound escaping his throat that went straight through me. The kiss deepened. His taste was intoxicating, sweet tea and something uniquely Hanul, something that made my alpha instincts roar with possession and satisfaction and rightness. When we finally broke apart, we were both breathing hard. Bedroom, I managed. If you want. Yes, he interrupted. Yes, I want. I led him to my bedroom, hands intertwined, hearts racing. The space I'd always kept pristine and impersonal suddenly felt intimate with him in it. We can stop at any point, I said, needing him to understand. You say the word and we stop. No questions, no consequences. Hanul smiled, reaching up to cup my face. I trust you. Those 3 words undid me completely. I kissed him again, slower this time, savoring. My hands traced the line of his spine, feeling him arch into the touch. His scent intensified, that sweet Omega perfume mixing with arousal, calling to every alpha instinct I possessed. Tell me what you want, I murmured against his lips. You, he breathed. Just you. We moved together toward the bed, shedding clothes with fumbling urgency. When I saw him fully, smooth skin, gentle curves, the evidence of his desire for me, I felt something beyond lust. Reverence. Wonder. Beautiful, I whispered. You're so beautiful. He blushed, looking away. I'm just perfect, I interrupted firmly. You're perfect. I laid him on the bed gently, trailing kisses down his throat, across his collarbone, learning what made him gasp and moan. His hands tangled in my hair, pulling me closer, and I reveled in his responsiveness. When I kissed lower, taking him in my mouth, he cried out my name, not Seojun SSI, just Seo-jun, raw and honest and mine. I brought him to the edge and back, learning his body's rhythms, finding what pleased him. His fingers dug into my shoulders, his scent flooding my senses, his pleasure becoming mine. Please, he gasped eventually. Seo-jun, please, I need. I know, I soothed, reaching for supplies. I've got you. I prepared him carefully, reverently, watching his face for any sign of discomfort. He was tight and perfect, and when I finally pressed inside, we both made sounds of pure satisfaction. Okay. I asked, holding still despite every instinct screaming to move. More than okay, he breathed. Move. Please move. I did, setting a rhythm that had him arching beneath me, hands clutching at my back, voice broken with pleasure. The connection was overwhelming, physical, yes, but something deeper. Something that felt like coming home. Look at me, I commanded gently. Let me see you. His eyes opened, bright and trusting and full of emotion that mirrored my own. I'm close, he gasped. Seo-jun, I'm. Let go, I urged. I've got you. Let go. He came with my name on his lips, and the sight and sound and feel of him pushed me over the edge moments later. Afterwards, we lay tangled together, hearts still racing, the reality of what we'd done settling around us. Stay, I whispered into his hair. Don't go back to your room. Stay with me. Okay, he agreed softly. I'll stay. And as we drifted towards sleep, his warmth pressed against my side, I realized something profound. For the first time in my life I felt chosen. Not for my wealth, not for my status, not for what I could provide. Just for me. Just for Seojun. Morning arrived with Seoul's light filtering through the curtains and Hanul still in my arms. I woke before him, taking the opportunity to simply look. In sleep, all his careful composure was gone, leaving only softness. His hair fell across his forehead, his lips were slightly parted, and his scent, no longer sharp with arousal but gentle with contentment, filled the air. My alpha instincts whispered, ours. But I pushed the possessive thoughts away, remembering Mrs. Kim's warning. Chosen, not claimed. Hanul stirred, eyes fluttering open. For a moment he looked confused and then memory returned. A blush spread across his cheeks. Good morning, I said softly. Morning. His voice was rough from sleep and other activities. Did we? We did. I brushed hair from his forehead. Any regrets? He considered this seriously and I braced myself for rejection. Instead he smiled, small but genuine. No regrets. Nervousness maybe. Uncertainty about what this means. But no regrets. Relief flooded through me. We should talk about what this means. Should we? He propped himself on one elbow, suddenly looking vulnerable. Or should we just see where it goes? Hanul, I need you to understand something. I sat up, wanting to meet his eyes for this. Last night wasn't casual for me. You're not casual for me. I paused, searching for words. I want to build something real with you. If you'll let me. Something real, he echoed. Like dating? Like courting, I corrected. Properly. The way an alpha should court someone they're serious about. His eyes widened. Seojun, I'm your employee. The optics alone. You're an omega. I care deeply about who happens to work in my home, I interrupted. And if the optics bother you, you could stop working for me. I'd still want you here. I'd still want this. You're serious. Completely. I took his hand. I know it's complicated. I know there are power dynamics to consider, and I know my world is difficult to navigate. But I also know that what I feel for you is the most real thing I've experienced in years. So yes, I'm serious. Hanul was quiet for a long moment, processing. Then, the children will be insufferable when they find out. Especially Mina. I laughed, surprised by his response. Is that a yes? It's a let's try and see what happens. I can't promise forever, Seojun. I've been on my own too long to make promises like that easily. But I can promise to be honest. To try. To be here as long as it feels right. That's all I'm asking for, I said, pulling him close. Honesty. Effort. And maybe breakfast. He laughed against my chest. I can manage breakfast. The next weeks were a study in contradiction. In public, at business events I occasionally brought him to, at restaurants where people might recognize me, we maintained careful distance. Not hiding exactly but not announcing. Testing the waters of what being together might mean. In private we built something new. Hanul moved into my bedroom officially, his clothes mingling with mine in the closet, his books appearing on the nightstand. We established routines. Morning coffee together, evening debriefs about our days, nights wrapped around each other. The physical intimacy deepened. I learned that Hanul loved being kissed along his spine, that he was ticklish behind his knees, that he made the most beautiful sounds when I took my time. He learned that I liked his hands in my hair, that praise undid me, that I needed the closeness as much as the pleasure. But it was the emotional intimacy that transformed everything. Tell me about your father, Hanul asked one night, head on my chest, fingers tracing idle patterns on my skin. I tensed instinctively. What do you want to know? What he was like. What kind of alpha he was. I thought about lying, about presenting the careful public image. But Hanul deserved truth. He was brilliant, I said slowly. Strategic, ruthless, completely focused on success. He built the company from almost nothing into what it is today. But he was also cold. Demanding. Love was transactional for him. Everything was transactional. Did he love you? I think he loved the idea of me. The heir. The continuation of his legacy. But me as a person? I shook my head. I don't think he knew how. Hanul pressed a kiss over my heart. I'm sorry. Don't be. It made me strong. Taught me to rely on myself. It also taught you that love comes with conditions, Hanul observed quietly. That people want you for what you can give them, not who you are. The accuracy stole my breath. Yes. Seojun. He shifted to look at me directly. I can't promise to fix that belief overnight. But I can promise that I'm here because of you, not your money. The penthouse, the car, the cards, I'd give all of it up tomorrow if it meant keeping you. You might have to prove that, I said, only half joking. My world doesn't understand relationships without benefit. Then we'll teach them something new. The test came sooner than expected. A month into officially being together, my mother called. She lived in Paris now, having fled Korea after my father's death, but she still maintained connections, still heard gossip. "Seo Jun," she said without preamble. "I heard you're dating your house help." I glanced at Hanol, who was cooking dinner across the kitchen, and moved to the study. "His name is Lee Hanol, and yes, we're together." "An Omega? Darling, you could have anyone. Why would you choose someone so beneath you?" Rage, white-hot and protective, flooded through me. "He's not beneath me. If anything, I'm not worthy of him." "Oh, Seo Jun." She sighed. "You sound like your father when he was young, before reality taught him better. Romance is lovely, but practical matters more. What does this Omega bring to a union? Family connections? Well, business advantage?" "He brings himself," I said firmly. "That's enough." "Is it? When the board questions your judgment. When business partners wonder if you're stable. When?" "Mother." My alpha voice, the one that made boardrooms quiet. "I appreciate your concern. But my personal life is not your business. Hanol is not a liability. And if anyone has a problem with him, they have a problem with me." Silence. "Then, you really care about him." "I love him." The words came easily, surprising us both. "I love him, and that's not going to change because it's inconvenient for others." After I hung up, I stood in the study, shaking slightly from adrenaline and revelation. I loved him. When had that happened? When had caring and wanting transformed into something deeper? "Seo Jun?" Hanol appeared in the doorway. "Is everything okay? I heard you raise your voice." I crossed to him, pulling him into my arms. "Everything's fine. Better than fine." What did she say? Things that don't matter. I pulled back to look at him. "Hanol, I..." "Don't." He pressed fingers to my lips. "Don't say it because you're angry at her. Say it when you mean it, without outside pressure." Smart. So incredibly smart. "Okay," I agreed. "But soon. I promise." He smiled and pulled me back toward the kitchen. "Come on. Dinner's ready." And as we ate together, talking about nothing important, I realized I'd already started building the life I wanted. Not the life my father expected, or my mother approved of, or society deemed appropriate. The life where I chose and was chosen in return. 2 months into our relationship, Hanol's heat started. I woke to him pressed against me, skin fever hot, scent overwhelming, that sweet Omega perfume intensified to the point of intoxication. My alpha instincts roared to life instantly, protective and possessive and desperate. "Seo Jun," he whimpered, already half asleep, caught in the biological imperative. "It hurts." "I know, sweetheart. I've got you." I pulled him closer, trying to think past the haze of alpha response. "Do you have suppressants?" "Heat aids." Didn't think I'd need them." His hands clutched at me desperately. "Haven't had a heat in years." Stress suppressed them. Meaning being happy, being safe, being cared for had allowed his body to return to natural cycles. "What do you need?" I asked, though I knew. Every alpha knew. "You," he gasped. "Please. It hurts so much." I'd prepared for this possibility. Had researched Omega heats extensively, had stocked supplies, had made sure the penthouse could be sealed off. But theory and reality were vastly different when the Omega I loved was burning with need in my arms. "Are you sure?" I forced myself to ask. "Heat sex is intense. The bonding bite." "Want it?" he interrupted, grinding against me desperately. "Want you? Want everything. Please, Seo Jun. Please." My control shattered. I rolled him beneath me, capturing his mouth in a consuming kiss. He tasted different during heat, sweeter, more addictive, impossible to resist. His legs wrapped around my waist, pulling me closer, and the scent of his arousal mixed with heat pheromones made thought difficult. "Going to take care of you," I promised against his lips. "Going to make it better." I'd researched what Omegas needed during heat. Constant physical contact, repeated satisfaction, the presence of a trusted alpha. I committed to giving him everything. The first time was desperate, both of us too far gone for finesse. I pressed inside him with minimal preparation and he cried out, not in pain but relief. The heat made him open, ready, welcoming. "More?" he demanded when I stilled. "Don't stop. Please don't stop." I didn't. I moved with purpose, giving him what his body needed, watching his face transform with pleasure. When he came, it was with my name and a plea for more. And there was more. So much more. Heat lasted 3 days. 3 days where we barely left the bed, where I kept him fed and hydrated between rounds of intense coupling, where his needs became my sole focus. On the second day as I moved inside him again, his voice broke through the haze. "Claim me," he begged. "Seo-jun, please. Want to be yours. Want everyone to know." The bonding bite. The permanent mark that would tie us together, that would announce to the world that this Omega was claimed, protected, cherished. "Are you sure?" I asked even as my canines ached to descend. "This is forever, Hanol. No taking it back." "Good," he gasped. "Want forever. Want you. Please." I kissed him deeply, pouring everything I felt into it. Then, as I drove into him again, I let my canines descend and bit down on the traditional spot, where neck met shoulder, where the claim would be visible and undeniable. Hanol screamed, but not in pain. The pleasure of being claimed during heat was supposed to be overwhelming, and his body proved the theory. He came harder than before, and the feeling of his acceptance, his submission, his trust pushed me over the edge. When I pulled back, I licked the wound clean, helping it heal into a perfect mark. My mark. Claiming him as mine. "I love you," I said, the words finally free. "I love you so much." "Love you too," he mumbled, already drifting toward the brief sleep he'd allowed. "My alpha. Mine." The possessiveness in his voice made me smile. Yes, just as he was mine. When the heat finally broke, we were both exhausted. Hanol slept for 14 hours straight, and I stayed awake, watching him, marveling at the claim mark now proudly displayed on his skin. He stirred eventually, blinking awake slowly. "How do you feel?" I asked. "Sore," he admitted. "But good. Really good." His hand went to the claim mark, tracing it gently. "Did we?" "We did. You asked me to claim you." "I remember." He smiled softly. "I meant it. I mean it." "Good. Because I'm not letting you go now." He laughed, then winced. "I need a shower. And food. And possibly a week of sleep. I can arrange all of that." I helped him sit up carefully. "Hanol, about the claim, it's going to change things. People will know. They'll talk. Let them talk." He met my eyes steadily. "I'm not ashamed of being yours. Are you ashamed of claiming me?" "Never," I said fiercely. "I'm proud. I want everyone to know." Then it settled. He stood on shaky legs and I steadied him. "Now feed me. Your Omega is starving." "Your Omega." The word settled warm in my chest. The claim mark changed everything and nothing. At the office, people noticed immediately. Whispers followed me through halls, but I met every stare with alpha confidence. Yes, I'd claimed someone. Yes, it was serious. No, it wasn't up for discussion. A board member, old and traditional, pulled me aside. "Seo-jun, the Omega you've claimed, I hear he was your employee?" "He was. Now he's my partner." "The optics are fine," I interrupted smoothly. "Unless you're suggesting I've done something inappropriate?" He was never my subordinate in the company. He managed my household and our relationship developed naturally. If you have concerns, I'd be happy to discuss them. Along with those real estate deals you've been quietly pursuing that might constitute conflicts of interest. The man paled. "No concerns. Of course. Congratulations on your bonding." Word spread quickly after that. No one wanted to challenge an alpha who'd made his position clear. At home, Hanol bloomed. The claim mark seemed to settle something in him, an anxiety I hadn't even known he carried. He moved through the penthouse with more confidence, claimed me just as surely with small touches and affectionate gestures. We visited the orphanage a week after his heat, and the children's reaction was immediate. "You're bonded." Mina shrieked, spotting the mark. "I told you to kiss him and you did more than kiss." Mrs. Kim pulled us both into a hug. "I'm so happy for you both. You deserve this, Hanol. You deserve to be chosen." "I am chosen," he agreed, smiling at me. "We both are." That night, lying in bed with Hanol's head on my chest, I reflected on how much had changed. 6 months ago, I'd been in a relationship with someone who loved my money more than me. I'd been lonely despite being surrounded by people. I'd been convinced that real love was impossible in my world. Now I had this, quiet moments with someone who saw me, chose me, loved me without calculation. "What are you thinking about?" Hanol asked sleepily. "How lucky I am." "That's my line." He pressed a kiss over my heart. "I love you, you know. Not because you're an alpha or wealthy or powerful. Because you're kind. Because you see people. Because you're you." "I love you too," I replied. For so many reasons I couldn't list them all. "Try anyway?" I smiled, running my fingers through his hair. "I love how you think of others first. How you make ordinary moments feel special. How you challenge me to be better. How you laugh with children. How you blush when I compliment you. How you trust me with your vulnerability. How you—" Okay. He laughed, the sound bright and joyful. "I believe you." "Good. Because I'm going to keep proving it every day for the rest of our lives. Is that a promise? It's a vow. And as we drifted towards sleep, two people who'd been searching for something real in a world of transactions and hierarchies, I knew I'd finally found what mattered most. Not power. Not wealth. Not status. Just love. Real, chosen, unconditional love. And that was worth more than all the gold in the world. 1 year later, we stood in a small chapel, surrounded by the people who mattered most. Mrs. Kim and the children from the orphanage. A handful of genuine friends I'd made since learning to value people over profit. Even my mother, who'd flown in from Paris and admitted quietly that she'd been wrong. Hanol wore a simple suit that made him look radiant. The claim mark was visible, proud, undeniable. When he smiled at me, it was with absolute certainty. I, Lee Hanol, choose you, Kang Seo-jun, he said when it was his turn. Not for what you can give me, but for who you are. I choose to build a life with you, to challenge you when you need it, to support you always, and to love you without condition. My turn. I took his hands, holding his gaze. I, Kang Seo-jun, choose you, Lee Hanol. You taught me that love isn't transactional. That being chosen is more valuable than being obeyed. That real wealth is measured in moments of genuine connection, not bank accounts. I promise to honor that lesson every day. I promise to choose you over and over for all our days. When we kissed, it was to the sound of children cheering and Mrs. Kim crying happy tears. Later, at the small reception, Mina pulled at my sleeve. You're married now, she said seriously. That means you'll give Hanol young babies, right? I nearly choked on my champagne. Mina. Hanol's scandalized voice carried across the room. But I knelt down to her level, smiling. Maybe someday. When we're ready. Would you like that? Yes. Then I'll have little siblings to play with when I visit. Then we'll see what we can do. That night, in our hotel room overlooking Seoul, Hanol and I made love slowly, reverently, celebrating not just the wedding but everything we'd built together. Happy? I asked afterward, holding him close. Impossibly, he replied. You? More than I ever thought possible. Good. He kissed my jaw. Because you're stuck with me now. Best fate I could imagine. And it was. In a world that measured worth in hierarchy and wealth, we'd found something rarer. A love that asked for nothing except honesty, effort, and choice. A love that proved the greatest riches were the ones that couldn't be bought. A love that was simply and completely real. The hotel suite was bathed in soft amber light from the city below. Seoul stretched out before us through floor-to-ceiling windows, a constellation of hopes and dreams, but nothing out there compared to what I held in my arms. Hanol stood by the window, still wearing his dress shirt though he'd removed his jacket. The claim mark on his neck caught the light, and something primal in me stirred at the sight. Mine, claimed, chosen husband. You're staring, he said without turning, a smile evident in his voice. Can you blame me? I crossed the room slowly, giving him time to adjust to my approach. Even bonded, even married, I never wanted to overwhelm him. You're beautiful. He turned, and the love in his eyes nearly brought me to my knees. So are you, my alpha, my husband. I cupped his face gently, thumbs tracing his cheekbones. Say it again. My husband, he whispered, and I captured the words with a kiss. It started soft, a tender exploration of lips we'd kissed countless times before. But tonight felt different. Tonight we weren't just bonded mates. We were married. Publicly, legally, irrevocably committed. Hanol's hands slid up my chest, fingers working at my shirt buttons with careful precision. I let him undress me slowly, enjoying the reverence in his touch, the way his breath caught when he revealed more skin. I love you, I murmured against his temple as his hands explored my bare chest. I love you so much it frightens me sometimes. Don't be frightened. He looked up at me, eyes bright with emotion. I'm here. I'm yours. I'm not going anywhere. I helped him remove his own shirt, revealing smooth skin I'd mapped 100 times but would never tire of discovering. The claim mark stood out proudly and I couldn't resist pressing a kiss to it. Hanol shivered, a soft sound escaping his throat. Seo-jun. I've got you, I promised, guiding him toward the bed. Let me take care of you tonight. We moved together, the rest of our clothes falling away until we lay skin to skin, heart to heart. I took my time, kissing down his neck, across his collarbone, learning every place that made him gasp and arch. You're so responsive, I breathed, trailing my lips lower. So perfect. Only for you, he managed, hands tangling in my hair. I continued my exploration, using my mouth and hands to bring him pleasure, watching his face transform with each touch. His omega scent grew sweeter, richer, calling to every instinct I had. When I finally kissed him deeply again, positioning myself between his legs, we were both trembling with want. Ready? I asked, though I already knew. Our bond thrummed with his desire, his eagerness, his love. Yes, he breathed. Please, Seojun. Need you. I prepared him carefully despite his protests that he was ready, taking time to ensure his comfort. When I finally pressed inside, we both made sounds of satisfaction. That perfect connection, that feeling of coming home. Okay. I asked, holding still despite my body's demands. Perfect, he gasped. Move. Please move. I did, setting a gentle rhythm that had him clutching at my shoulders, legs wrapping around my waist. The intimacy was overwhelming, not just physical but emotional, spiritual, the bond between us singing with shared pleasure. Look at me, I requested softly. Want to see you. His eyes opened, glazed with pleasure but focused on me. Love you, he whispered. Love you so much. Love you too, I replied, increasing my pace slightly. My Omega. My husband. Mine. Yours, he agreed, back arching beautifully. Always yours. I could feel him getting close, could sense it through our bond, and I adjusted my angle to help him reach completion. When his release came, it was with my name on his lips and trust in his eyes. The feeling of him around me, the sight of his pleasure, the love pouring through our bond, it all pushed me over the edge moments later. I pressed deep, holding him close, murmuring words of love and devotion against his skin. Afterward, we lay tangled together, hearts gradually slowing, the euphoria settling into deep contentment. That was... Hanul started, then laughed softly. I don't have words. Neither do I admitted, brushing sweat-dampened hair from his forehead. But I know I want to do it again in about 20 minutes. He laughed, the sound joyful and free. Greedy alpha. Only for you. I pulled him closer, arranging us so his head rested on my chest. Only ever for you. We lay in comfortable silence, listening to the city below, to each other's breathing, to the quiet promise of our future together. Seojun? Anul's voice was drowsy, satisfied. Oh, thank you for choosing me, for seeing me, for loving me. I pressed a kiss to the top of his head, emotion tightening my throat. Thank you for letting me, for teaching me what real love looks like, for choosing me back. Always, he murmured, already drifting towards sleep. Always you. As I held my husband, my bonded mate, my chosen partner, my love, I reflected on the journey that had brought us here. From employer and employee to lovers to spouses. From loneliness to belonging. From transactions to truth. The claim mark on his neck caught the light again, and I traced it gently with one finger. My mark. My Omega. My husband. I promise, I whispered, knowing he couldn't hear but needing to say it anyway, to love you like this every day. To choose you over power, over wealth, over everything else. To build a life with you that's measured not in gold but in moments of genuine joy. Hanul shifted in his sleep, pressing closer, and I felt our bond hum with contentment. Tomorrow we'd return to the real world, to the company, to responsibilities, to the challenges of navigating our relationship in a society still learning to accept love that didn't follow traditional hierarchies. But tonight, in this moment, we were just Seojun and Hanul. Two people who'd found each other against all odds. Two hearts that had chosen to beat as one. And that was worth more than all the wealth in the world. I closed my eyes, holding my husband close, and let contentment pull me towards sleep. This right here, was everything I'd ever needed. Everything I'd ever wanted. Everything that mattered. Just love. Real, chosen, unconditional love. And it was perfect.